chooses. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm masked up, that means we have guests. So that is a rule here at Vaughan Radio. But believe me, under this mask is Mark Brantley, the host of On The Mark. Welcome to another edition of On The Mark. Good evening to all our friends and family here in Nevis, those in St. Kitts, our brothers and sisters over there, those in the wider Caribbean. Good evening to friends and family in the United States and Canada, those in the United Kingdom. Wherever you are and you're tuned in, welcome to this edition of On The Mark. We're here this evening for the first show after the federal elections that was held last Friday the 5th of August. We did say that Friday would be Freedom Day, and Friday we were in fact freed of the tyranny of Timothy Harris. He is now no longer Prime Minister. And if I can now, I believe, anoint myself as a soothsayer, because I did say that we would have a new Prime Minister. Well, that new Prime Minister is Dr. Terence Drew. Let me start the program by congratulating him and his Labour Party team. They won 6 of the available 11 seats, 6, of course, of the 8 that were on offer on St. Kitts, and therefore has a majority and has formed a government and has been sworn in as Prime Minister. So Dr. Drew now becomes our nation's 4th Prime Minister, and we congratulate him. And certainly the island of Nevis looks forward to a new dawn. We look forward to a new relationship. We look forward to a new approach to governance that is inclusive and that takes into account the 1/3 of the population that resides here on the island of Nevis. Dr. Drew, I think, has the benefit of the history. He has the benefit of the disappointments that the people of Nevis have felt over the years, and it is now a question for him whether or not he will seek to fix and ameliorate those issues, or whether it will be more of the same. That is his choice. That is his decision. I welcome him. You know why I welcome him? I welcome him because he's young, he's new, he's the first time in Parliament, tried twice before, didn't make it. Now he makes it, and he is at the helm. I think he therefore comes with no baggage of his own that I'm aware of, and therefore has a clean slate. What he will write on that slate will be left to be seen. So far as we are concerned here in the Nevis Island Administration, we look forward to that engagement, and we are all about nation building and all about seeking to develop our island and develop our country. And whatever we can do to contribute to that, that is where we now are. The elections are over, the cut and thrust is over, and I believe that it is now time for us to come together to heal and to move forward. Elections are by their nature divisive because people are being asked to make a choice. But once that choice is made, let us understand that we are still one country, and we therefore must find ways to work together and mechanisms to cooperate to move our country forward. Now I'd like to move from the new Prime Minister. Let me also thank the people of Nevis. The people of Nevis in June of 2020 made an historic decision. They gave the CCM for the first time in its history all 3 federal seats on Nevis. Numbers 9, 10 and 11. And this time around, despite all the hullabaloo, despite the predictions of doom and gloom, despite these fake pollsters, the people of Nevis again gave the CCM all 3 seats on Nevis. And I confess that it warmed my heart to see that map of Nevis that was entirely blue. 9, 10, and 11. I want, as a leader of CCM, to thank the people of Nevis. They have demonstrated, time and time again, that they trust the concerned citizens movement, that they trust the leadership that we bring, that when we say that we represent leadership that they can trust, that our people believe it. And our people have given the CCM party since 1992 an unprecedented record of success at the polls. Sometimes we hear people say that nothing is happening. We hear people say that this government has failed. But the ultimate test is an election. An election after election after election. The people of this island have said that the CCM is their preferred choice. We do not take that for granted. And therefore, this evening, I want to say thank you. Thank you to all the people of Nevis. More specifically, thank you to the good people of number 9, St. John's and St. Paul's, who have since 2007 elected me election after election. They did so in 2007 in a by-election, in 2010, 2015, 2020, and 2022. Those were the federal elections. They have also elected me in local elections. But for now, focusing on the federal, I would want to say thank you to them. Thank you as the party leader to the voters in number 10, Gingerland, and thank you to the voters in number 11, St. Thomas's and St. James. I have with me this evening what some have said is the dream team. The Honorable Eric Evelyn from Nevis 10, who has been victorious once again, and the Honorable Alexis Jeffers in Nevis 11, who equally has been victorious once again. Honorable Eric Evelyn, thank you for coming back to the show. We were here before the election, and I think it says something that we have come on the first show after the election to speak with the people of Nevis and the wider Federation. Congratulations, my brother. I believe you delivered as we expected you to deliver in Gingerland, and the job was over early, and you came and your team helped the rest of us. So I am grateful to you for all that you do, and give you the opportunity to speak your piece and to thank, of course, the good voters of number 10.
Thank you very much, Honorable Premier, and let me say good night to all of the listeners and the viewers of On the Mark. Of course, it's always a pleasure to be here, and I want to thank you, Honorable Premier, for inviting me once again to this program that is so very widely listened to, and a program that is so highly respected, not only in St. Kitts and Nevis, but throughout the region and in the diaspora as well. So it is indeed my pleasure to be here once again on the Mark. And of course, as you rightly said, this is our first show since the election on historic day of August the 5th, 2022. Of course, as you rightly said as well, Premier, I would have won that seat in a very convincing manner once again. And I really want to say thanks again to the people of Nevis 10, the people of St. George, Gingerland. This is my third outing as a politician. This is my third election. I would have started in 2017, then again in 2020. Unfortunately, we had to go back to the polls in 2022. But once again, the good people of Gingerland spoke, and spoke loudly. And so I really want to thank the good people of Gingerland for once again reposing their trust and their confidence in me. And I want to tell the people once again that I have always been with you long before politics, and I will always be with you. And I have the full confidence that you will always stand with me, just the way I have stood with you over these many years since I've known myself. Of course, we had our team who would have worked very diligently on election day as well, and I want to say a very hearty thank you to them, to all of the persons who worked in the polls, the poll agents, the poll watchers, the persons who transported persons, the persons who prepared the lunches and the snacks, the persons who transported them. And overall, it was a very good team effort. Of course, you know, on election day, you would have your little glitches, but generally things went well. We gelled well together as a team, and I really want to thank them. Of course, we know that this was an election where things were a little bit different, because we know we had Culture Armor to contend with as well. And of course, me especially as the Minister of Culture, it was very rough on me. I had to be at the shows very late for most of the shows, and then the next day had to be working practically all day. Sometimes had to be leaving walkthroughs to go straight to public meetings, and just going to the shows afterwards. So it was pretty rough on me, but thank God I was able to weather the storm. God is good all the time, and I want to thank all the multitude of persons who continue to pray for me and pray for our team, the Concerned Citizens Movement. I'm very proud of this party, Mark. I'm very proud of the work that we have done. I'm very proud of the victory that we have won again, myself, you, and Alexis. And the victory that we got on August the 5th, it shows St. Kitts Nevis, and it shows the world that the people of Nevis continue to speak loudly, and they continue to prefer the management and the leadership and the commitment of the Concerned Citizens Movement and its candidates, and that is why they continue to repose their trust and their confidence in us. I have absolutely no doubt that this party is by far the strongest, the most resilient in Nevis, and I dare say probably in the Federation, because if we realize, Mark, I was speaking to a very good friend of mine last night who has been following politics for many, many years, and he made some excellent points. He said that he thought that in this election, because of the fact that we went to the polls 3 years early, he thought that the electorate was seeking to punish the members of the Team Unity administration and the Team Unity government. And to some extent, I believe he may be right. But when I analyze the situation, and he also said that he thought that the former Prime Minister knew he was going down, and he wanted to bring down all of the members of the cabinet with him. Mm-hmm. And when I look at the results, and when we analyze the results, Mark, Alexis, of the three parties that made up Team Unity, the Concerned Citizens Movement is the only party that retained all of its seats. And that speaks volume for the party. It speaks volume to us as the candidates and the representatives. And it speaks volume to the people of Nevis as to how they feel about us and the Concerned Citizens Movement.
Alexis Jeffers, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, the winner once again in Nevis 11. And Honorable Jeffers, let me say this to you publicly, that, you know, there were all these predictions. Mm-hmm. We saw all these fake pollsters, and I use fake because that's what they are. They're propagandists who foolish people pay plenty money to tell them what they want to hear. And they all predicted your demise. Mm-hmm. All of them said that number 11 was going to the NRP. And you have proven them wrong. The people of number 11 mm-hmm. have proven them wrong. What do you say to the voters of number 11?
Well, thank you very much, Premier Brantley. Good evening to you as well, Eric. And good evening to the listening and viewing audience out there. And we do have a wide listenership and viewership, if I were to put it that way. So I welcome one and all, because this program, of course, has continued to play its part in terms of ensuring that we reach the entire universe, as a matter of fact. Yeah. So I will say to you that I am happy to be here this evening. And let me say this to you, Premier Brantley. I can start out by saying, to God be the glory, great things he has done. Yes. And, you know, we have had challenges in the past, in elections and otherwise. And all I say is that we have come this far by faith, leaning on the Lord, trusting in his holy word. And he has never failed us yet. And tonight is testimony that he did not fail us in this past election. Yes. Let me first of all say congratulations as well to the new Prime Minister of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew. And indeed, you would have spoken eloquently about him in terms of him being a new Prime Minister and new to Parliament, and all of those things are true. But I will say at this point in time that we're hoping that all will go well with this federation. We have come through a bruising election, and indeed we have had challenges over the last, at least the last 90 days or more, leading up to these elections. And what I will say is that we are hoping for a good relationship with Bastia, because as Bastia goes and as Charlestown goes, if both ends are strong and the relationship is there, then of course it would lead to a stronger federation. And that is what we are aspiring for, and that is what we are working towards in terms of ensuring that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis work together harmoniously in terms of advancing the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, because I do believe that in the Federation we represent what is best in the OECS, in the Caribbean, and even globally, because we have done our best to stand among all of the global entities and countries and have represented well. So in that regard, I'm hoping that we'll have a harmonious relationship moving forward. There's never any relationship without difficulties and challenges, so we have to find a way to work our way through those difficulties and challenges, because when it's all said and done, we are representing people. That being said, let me congratulate the members of my team, you, Premier Brantley, and also Eric Evelyn in number 10. You are in number 9 for your victory. And I also want to say how happy I am that the people of Nevis 11 came out in their resounding numbers. And I say resounding numbers because we were victorious, even though, as you rightfully say, many would have given us little chance to win or repeat this victory. I will say that back from 1983, the seat Nevis 11 was in the hands of the NRP. We came along in 2020 and we were successful then. It was always going to be difficult to repeat that feat, but we were able to do so, and thanks to the voters who saw the abilities and the capabilities in my representation, they went out and voted, and in the end we were victorious. But I did say from day one that you cannot have a divided team going to St. Kitts, meaning you needed a united front, and that is what the people would have given us, 9, 10, and 11 to represent the island of Nevis in Bastere. And that is always a good thing, because we go there with a united voice, a united stance, and we expect to receive what is rightfully ours when it's all said and done, because we'll have the same principles and the same stance going forward in terms of what we're looking for. So the people of Nevis 11 would have spoken in resounding fashion, and Nevis 11, as I always say, start at Craddock Road, the largest landmass that anyone would have to traverse in order to canvass and bring the message to the people. So it starts in Craddock Road and goes north towards, and then south towards the bottom of Zion Hill. So that's a large chunk of land here on the island of Nevis. And there's no doubt that this area is an area that is important to the politics of Nevis, the politics of St. Kitts and Nevis. Of course, the NRP was hoping that they would regain or take the seat away from the CCM, but they were unsuccessful for a lot of reasons. And those reasons, we won't get into all of the reasons this evening, but of course, the people of Nevis 11, St. James and St. Thomas Parish, must have seen something in me and in the CCM to vote in overwhelming fashion to ensure that the CCM retains the seat. And we don't take it lightly at all. We believe that these seats that we have gotten, the 3 seats, is a message being sent to the CCM, and it's a message being sent to the Federation that the CCM represent the best thing for the island of Nevis. And moving forward, I do believe the CCM will continue to demonstrate to the people of Nevis that we are the best party to represent, govern to start with, and represent the people of Nevis. I want to say how grateful I am this evening to be here with you, Premier Brantley. Of course, as we go along, we can go into other things, but I want to say that I want to thank the entire constituency of Nevis 11 for once again going out and voting, and of course those who may not have gone to vote, because there are persons who are not too interested or excited about federal elections, and everybody have their reasons. Of course, I do believe that when elections are called, everyone who is eligible to vote should go and vote, exercise that franchise, because we know in various countries persons cannot vote for various reasons because of the political structure that is operating in those particular countries. So here in St. Kitts Nevis we have a democracy. It is a democracy that suggests to me that you have a vote, that is your voice, so to speak, and you should not allow anyone to make a decision for you. And what I mean by that, if you refuse to go to vote, someone will go and vote and give you a representative that you will ultimately say you don't want or you don't need, but that would be a choice you would have made. So I'm saying that when elections are called, whether federal or local, it is important and incumbent upon all of us to go out and vote and exercise that franchise. I would love to hear people say they go to vote rather than sitting down and using reasons that are not consistent with what we would want to hear, because everyone will have a reason why they should not go and why they should go. But I always believe it is important for all of us to go and vote. So the elections are over. I'm happy that we have shown that we are a strong party, a united party, and a party that is on the verge of doing great things for the island of Nevis, and we'll continue to work towards ensuring that we have a harmonious relationship with the federal government so that we can deliver for the people of Nevis, and that is what we're here for. Once again, Premier Brantley, thanks for having me. Thank you to the people of Nevis 11, and of course we'll have a period of time when we'll go back and thank all of the people for their confidence that they've reposed in us. Thank you very much.
Well, this is an evening when we say thank you, and we say thanks to God for bringing us through. It was a very long and tiring election campaign. I can't speak for the two of you, but I know I lost 12 pounds. I feel quite good. I hope I keep those 12 pounds off. But it was a long and tiring campaign. Ordinarily, as you know, we have a campaign that lasts maybe 3 or 4 weeks. But this one really has been going since around May. And so we had to pace ourselves. It was a costly undertaking in terms of time, in terms of money, in terms of just doing all the things that we need to do during an election. But there were a number of people who volunteered, people who came to the meetings, people who gave of their time and their talent, and I would like to thank them as well. They're too numerous to mention, but certainly I would like to thank them for the Herculean efforts that they would have made during this whole election season. It is because of them that the three of us can sit here tonight victorious. And I raised the issue about the polls and the pollsters, or the fake polls and posters as I call them, because I saw one just after the election that somebody sent me after the election saying that Timothy Harris had a 59% chance of becoming Prime Minister, and the closest person to him was, I think, Dr. Douglas at 15%, and I found myself down at 3%, so I didn't make it double digits. And I smiled to myself because I said, look at this. And perhaps, and someone, a wise person once said to me that it is a very dangerous thing to overestimate our own importance. That sometimes we get a bit swell-headed and arrogant, and we start to feel that it is all about us. Team unity was, in my view, and still in my view, an excellent idea. It really was an idea that brought people together. That was how it was designed. And I think what we did not know is that there were individuals who were not pure in terms of their intentions and who lacked the necessary integrity. Because any relationship, business relationship, familial relationship, it requires some level of trust. It requires a level of integrity in order for it to be executed. And that, I believe, was the part. And people say, oh, you all should have known, you should have known. But really, who knows the heart of man? And when people come and they say that this is what we intend to do, and in the case of Team Unity, we went so far as we documented and signed an accord to say this is how we are going to function. And it turned out at the end of the day that people turned their backs even on that which they had signed. But the thing, I believe, the lesson, gentlemen, and I think that it's a lesson not only for us, but a lesson for the ages, that it is a dangerous thing when you surround yourself with people who tell you only what you want to hear. And you surround yourself with a cheering mob that, as I call them, a renter crowd, that everywhere you go, they cheer and they say you're the top dog and you're the boss. And I reflect that when we offered compromise to Dr. Harris as Prime Minister for this Team Unity construct to continue, that he sent an 18-page epistle in response and basically used it as an opportunity to tell us all the things that were wrong and all the things that we were not capable of doing, and that was the approach that he took, sort of trying to insult, if you will, the members of PAM and the members of CCM. And one thing stood out for me in that epistle, and that we could not expect any, how did he put it, any, well, it wasn't compromise, but any sort of, he would not countenance any lowering or diminution of the office of the Prime Minister. And if we reflect and we say, well, how did he become Prime Minister? How does anybody become Prime Minister? Under our Constitution, the only way that you can become Prime Minister is with the support of an elected majority. And in a construct of 9 seats where you only had 2, then certainly the only way that Timothy Harris had become Prime Minister is with the support of PAM. 4. And then
3.
CCM. So, to my mind, you owe your very existence to the confidence of the majority. So if the majority were to come to you and say, listen, the course on which we are embarked is not working and we want you to correct course, rather than listening to that majority, you decide, listen, you know what, I'm the top dog, I'm going to mash up everything. And then this notion that it was because of him that the other members won a seat. But the electorate ultimately is the litmus test. Because regardless of what people say, all of us have an opinion. Ultimately, their voice is the voice of God. And when they speak, we must listen. And Eric, you touched on it, because when we look at the results, what do we realize? With the war, not battle, the war that was waged against the Concerned Citizens Movement, each of us was returned. And returned convincingly. None of us was in a close race, regardless of what people are saying. None of us was in a close race. I looked at the numbers before I came here. I won by 411 votes. And by no stretch could that be considered close. To put that in context, I won my first election in 2000 by 30 votes, 3-0. I'm winning one now by 411. Alexis would have won by 59. But again, when you look inside those numbers, he held on to the hometown of St. James, safe, 189.
Still win a box in St. Thomas's.
Won a box in St. Thomas.
Hold on to.
Eric, you would have won
all boxes.
All boxes in St. George, and well over 300 votes.
Of course.
Right? So you look at it and you say that the people of Nevis spoke eloquently that the Concerned Citizens Movement is their party of choice. And they have done so consistently over the decades. On St. Kitts, we saw the People's Action Movement fall away. The Honourable Sean Richards was the only one that emerged. And incidentally, let me congratulate him as well. We ought not to forget to congratulate him and his colleagues. They now have some rebuilding to do. But what was interesting, the man who said that he was responsible for everybody as winning could not win a single seat but his own, and in my view, almost lost it. Because when I heard the numbers coming out of number 7, I confess that I was shocked. Because that's a seat that, you know, was considered safe. That was a seat that you were winning by over 1,000. And for Mr. Natter to reduce that lead to just about 300, it means that that seat now becomes a seat in play. And that to me is instructive, and I think that there's a broader lesson for all of us here. You see this thing called humility? It is important that we be humble in what we do. That people are going to come for their own purposes and start to call you the boss, the big boss, right? The Don, the top dog. At the end of the day, you have to be grounded, because it was absolute arrogance and folly why Timothy Harris today is no longer Prime Minister. You realize that Timothy Harris brought his own Prime Ministership to an end 3 years plus early. So in his attempt, as you said, Eric, to get at us, he committed suicide. Political suicide, because he now finds himself where he can never come back. How is he going to come back from where he is now? What is the party that's going to be around him? The PLP function, as we know, on the basis of government largesse. Freeness. I could do this for you, I could do that for you, I could do that for you. Now you don't have the control of the government purse anymore. How are you going to put the thousands and peace and the thousands and step and the thousands and pap as an inducement for them to vote PLP? So that is the concern I have, and I think that there's a lesson here. It's that lesson of that we've always been told, really. When you dig a pit, careful you don't fall in it. Yeah? You dig a grave for a man and you end up being buried in it. You know? And that is the lesson I think that we should take away. There's nothing new under the sun, you know. We have seen it all before. And if, as I know both of you are good Anglicans, if you all read your Bible, you see in the Bible it talks about myriad examples of people who lost their way. And I am so happy that despite clearly the mood of the electorate to punish people who had come back to them 3.5 years early, that in Nevis, the people of Nevis said, listen, we see something in these 3 Hebrew boys that we are going to stick with. And gentlemen, one of my proudest moments in this election hasn't been the victory, although victory is important. One of my proudest moments in this election is the fact that at no point during this entire bruising campaign was there any suggestion that any one of us had ever involved ourselves in anything corrupt or untoward. Mm-hmm. They say nothing happened, they say, oh, 400 million we gone, they say all kind of things. But there was never a suggestion that Eric Evelyn had done anything improper while in government, never a suggestion that Alexis Jeffers had done anything improper, and never a suggestion that I had done anything improper. And I believe sometimes that we take these things for granted, but we ought not to do so. On my way here, a good friend of mine called me, and you know what he said to me? He said to me, you in the CCM must understand that not because many of us aren't out there making noise. We are praying for you. We respect and hold you in high regard. And we are supportive of your efforts on behalf of the people of Nevis. And I think that was, for me, a valuable lesson from this election. In the early meetings that we had, people were coming out to the meetings and they had all kinds of things. Oh, CCM dead, CCM this, CCM that. And I smiled. Because I always say that I put my trust and confidence in the people of Nevis. And they have never let us down. And I believe, gentlemen, that we really have a debt of gratitude to the people. Those quiet people, but who are firm, they know right from wrong. They understand the issues. They listen to shows like this and others. They inform themselves, and at the end of the day, they go out and they make their vote. The last thing I will say before I turn it back over to you guys is this. I have become deeply concerned at what appears to be the practice of the NRP and their operatives to attack the people of Nevis after every election. That every time they lose an election, I saw something by this guy. I don't even know if I can still call him my teacher, because I like to think that I learn from teachers. But when I knew him and he was my teacher, he appeared progressive. Now I think he has retrogressed in terms of his old age. And that is one of the brothers to Daniel, Hensley Daniel, one of his brothers who I think lives in the States and teaches up there. And he actually referred to people as stupid. Stupid. And I said to myself, well, why would you call an electorate stupid? Because the people went out, they had an equal opportunity to vote for whoever they wanted to vote for. Both parties had equal time to campaign and to make their case. And so if the people of Gingerland decide Eric is who we know and who we want to stay with, the people of St. James and St. Thomas decide Alexis is who we know and who we want to stay with, and the people of number 9 decide Mark is who we know and who we want to stay with, why do you call them stupid? And I see that after every election. I mean, I realize I saw somebody send me some screenshots how they turn on and the Honorable Cleon Stapleton and had her cursed out. How she this and she that and she the other. And it seems to be a pattern. Somebody said to me a couple of days ago, they said, do you realize that NRP operatives, I mean, that's the supporters, but those who are around the party close, that they're always angry? And I said, what do you mean? He said they're always angry, they're always hostile. It's like they have something in them. That is why Carlisle Powell would have come and stood up in front the Jeep on the day, domination day. Right? It's a confrontational type of approach that they have. And I said to them, well, I haven't really noticed, but perhaps it is a product of the constant losses at the polls. Because anytime they lose at the polls, they find a reason, which has nothing to do with them. They don't say, well, we didn't offer good candidates or our messaging wasn't right. Right? I listened to Patricia Bartlett, for example. Rather than, in my view, being magnanimous and saying congratulations and all that, start to talk about she's proud of herself because she didn't bribe nobody and she didn't whatever. I'm like, well, who is she saying bribe people? Because I will not get into it here tonight, but some of the information that I have, if I were Dr. Bartlett, I would be quiet. I would be quiet. Right? Because a lot of things are being done here. In fact, things are being done weeks before the election. Using the federal purse and the federal treasury. So I would be quiet if I were her. Because voters were being told, listen, vote for NRP to protect this money that you're getting for free. Because if you don't do it, CC, I'm going to take it away. That is the kind of pressure that we're under. People are seeing results and saying, well, these results here look a bit unusual. Because they don't know all the underlying factors that would work against the CCM.
The unseen.
So when I hear this posturing about bribing and all of this nonsense, as if they were not aware, the confidence that they had going into this election came about because of the skullduggery that they were engaged in with the assistance of the PLP and Timothy Harris. They well knew. So, gentlemen, I come say all that to say that at the end of the day, I believe we are here by the grace of God and by the will of the people of Nevis. And I have vowed, and I know you gentlemen are with me, that we ought never to take that for granted. We ought never to forget why we're here and who sent us.
You know, Mark, as you spoke there, particularly about the former Prime Minister, and how, you know, all of this, we went to the polls 3 years early and so on, you know. Since this thing started, since this, you know, this debacle started, you know, and even now after the election, I continue to reflect, and especially since the election is over, because it should not have gone this way, you know, and I keep reflecting on that day when I spoke up in cabinet, and I remember it was at the end of the cabinet meeting, and I said, Mr. Chairman, I have something to say. And I said, you know, I don't think things are well in the cabinet, among the cabinet members. I said, when we come to cabinet, of course we do our cabinet work. Things look rosy, but they are not. Because I think everybody in St. Kitts and Nevis could have felt the tension, especially between CAM and PLP. And I mean, everybody knew things were not good. And I practically begged. I said, we need to sit down as cabinet members. We need to have a retreat. We need to talk things over. We need to be frank. We need to be open. We need to go just talk and without anybody getting upset with each other. And after the meeting, the former Prime Minister met me in the hallway downstairs. And he said, Eric, thank you very much for raising that. And I mean, to my amazement, nothing was done. Both of you knew how many times I wrote in the cabinet chat about how important it is for us to keep this government together. And all of my efforts went to no avail. You know, but as I said, God is good. He still kept the three of us together, and the three of us still won our seats. And as I speak about winning, it was remiss of me when I forgot to congratulate the new Prime Minister, Dr. Drew, and his team for so convincingly winning the election in St. Kitts. I wish you all the very best, and my hope and my trust is that you will work well with us, the people of Nevis, to heal the nation. And as I speak of victory as well, I want to dedicate my victory to the late Myron Weston Jeffers. He would have worked faithfully with my election for the past two elections that I had in 2017 and 2020, he would have worked diligently and faithfully with the late former Premier, Honorable Vance Amory, and he would have continued that with me. And so it was a bit of a bittersweet moment for me for this past election, because I know he was one who was always there to drive, to pick up certain people in the Hickmans and the surrounding areas. He was the one who accompanied the ballot boxes in 2017 and 2020 for me as the CCM representative, and it was really a sad moment for me on election day when I reflected and I realized he would not have been there to do the transportation. He would not have been there to accompany the ballot boxes. And I really want to dedicate my victory to his memory. And I really want to say condolences to his entire family, to his wife, Imelda, to the children, Tracy and Reese, and the rest of the children, the grandchildren, and the entire family. We certainly missed him during this election, but his memory will live on, you know, and so I really missed him during this election, but may his soul rest in eternal peace. And as I said, condolences to the entire family, and as I said, I really dedicate my victory to his memory. And while I'm talking about condolences, let me also extend condolences to the Elliott family, Blackie and Margaret and the rest of the family on the loss of Paula. And of course, we know we lost Gandhi last evening, so let me extend condolences to his wife, to the children, Veronica and Shellyan, and to Lorenzo and all the rest of the family. So I just want to say that for now.
Well, let me also say that in your constituency, what island-wide,
yes,
that I join you in extending my condolences to Gandhi and to Blackie Elliott and his family, and of course to Weston's family as well. But Trevi,
yes,
young Trevi,
yes,
I can't tell you how much I missed Trevi during this election cycle. Trevi had, I believe, an innate understanding, an uncanny intellect when it came to politics, and he was one of those people who you didn't have to spell out a narrative for, because he analyzed the situation. And I will tell you, going through this election cycle, I kept saying that Trevi was somebody who I could say, Trevi just control the social media aspects for me, and he would do that. And so he too, I think we missed greatly.
And I want to dedicate my victory to him as well, to his memory as well.
Absolutely. I think these are people who really in their lifetimes contributed so much.
Yes.
In fact, I did not put it up because I just, the death of Trevi has struck me in a very deep way.
Yes.
But I saw some people had up as their status a comment that he made, saying, vote CCM, this is Trevi, you know, good night and vote CCM, keep the momentum. And I just thought that, you know, these were individuals who really gave us incredible service to this party and to this country, and we are where we are because of them.
Yes.
And I would want to express again our ongoing condolences to the families that mourn, and to thank people like Trevi posthumously for what they would have done for this party over the years.
And I know he was my very strong supporter. I could have counted on him at any time, whether it's at election time, any time. Always calling me, giving me some words of inspiration, words of encouragement. If he see anything, you know, not going correctly in the community or in the constituency, he will call and say, honorable member, I want to speak to you. And, you know, we need to discuss something. We need to talk something over. You know, and so I really missed him during this election as well, and during the campaign too, because I know he would have been very present on social media. And so, as I said, I want to dedicate my victory to him, to the late Trevi, and to the late Weston Jeffers from my constituency.
If I may jump in at this point in time, and I'm glad you raised that, Eric, I also want to express condolences. Weston is someone I would have known ever since I got into politics, or in and around politics since 2006 thereabout. The late Vance Amory would have been associated with Weston for many years, ever since he got into politics, as a matter of fact, because Weston Jeffers was the one who nominated him, along with Blackie Elliott, every election that he would have contested. So I want to express my profound sympathies to Tracy and the entire family, Mrs. Jeffers as well, who I know very well, the entire family. I want to say how grateful we are for the contribution that Weston would have made to the concerned citizens movement. And of course he was a contractor, so he would have contributed in the field of construction. His last project was the Gingerland Secondary School, the office area, that front portion of the Gingerland Secondary School, which he would have done a marvelous job. So he would have left a legacy behind, and something that we'll always remember. And I would say, may his soul rest in eternal peace. Paula and I started high school together. We were in class together. That is a surprise for you, I'm sure. But we started Gingerland Secondary School together, and indeed we would have stayed in touch over the years. Of course, she would have gone to St. Kitts, got married and everything, and lived there, and then came back to Nevis. And it was quite a surprise to me when I heard she would have passed. And she's young, because I consider myself to be a young man still, and she would have gone far too early. So I want to express to Blackie Elliott, Mrs. Elliott, Margaret, that is, and the entire family, Gator and everyone else who are grieving at this time, and say how sorry we are for their loss. And indeed, whenever the time comes, we'll go and show our support at the funeral. Indeed, Gandhi, we learned of the passing of Gandhi last evening, I believe it was. But one has to understand the contribution that he would have made as well too. He was with the Nevis, the department, or the electricity department, way back in the day, and up to the point of Nevlec he was still there, and he was a taxi driver. So he plied his trade during the day and in the night to ensure that his family was fed, and everyone went to school, got their education, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. So he would have done an excellent job of maintaining his family through the hard work and dedication that he had to his trade, whether it was at the Nevlec or the department of, or the electricity department, and even, like I said, as a taxi driver. One of the things that he was good at as well is repairing those those street lights. He would have developed that skill, and when we would have thrown away some of these things, he would take them to Gandhi and he would repair them and bring them back to life. So he has a legacy, he has left a legacy which we would all be proud of. And indeed, persons like Gandhi, persons like Weston, Paula, and all who would have departed this life would have left something behind for all of us to look at and to emulate in some way. And one of the things that I want to say to the people of Nevis, young men, young ladies out there, that nothing is possible without some hard work and dedication to your trade, to your craft. And we should not look at life as being a bed of roses in any way. It's difficult and it's challenging, but the gratification of your hard work and dedication is what you ultimately get and receive, and also what you leave behind, because you want to leave something behind that all who come after you can certainly look towards and emulate. So I want to say my deepest sympathies to all of the families that are grieving. I also want to say this evening that earlier this afternoon I visited the wife of Wendell Ruffer Wallace. They came down. Warner, sorry. Where did I get Wallace from? well, there's a Wallace connection too, because Janet is the sister to Joyce Wallace. Yeah. So maybe that's where the Wallace came from. But Janet Warner, of course, yes, I visited her this afternoon. They're leaving tomorrow, and I want to wish them a safe journey back to the United States. But at least they came, and part of the reason why they came, to contribute, yes, in terms of making their mark for the concerned citizens movement. They're also proud citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I will say to you that when an election date is announced in the past, one of the first persons to land here on Nevis, hit the ground running, and to galvanize the votes for the concerned citizens movement was Wendell Ruffer Warner.
Always.
And that gentleman have made his contribution. I call him a jack of all trade, and he's a master of many. Because some will say jack of all trade, master of none. He was a backhoe operator, he was an advisor, consultant. He had a contribution to make in every facet of life here on the island of Nevis. No matter what you ask him to do, he could have accomplished it. And I do believe persons like Rafa can be seen as our national heroes. Yes, we would recognize politicians over the years as heroes, but this small man out there on the street have done so much for this island and this country that they can be considered national heroes. But of course, the powers that be normally would nominate persons from certain categories. But in my humble opinion, he fits the bill for a national hero. And I want to thank the family for coming and thank the family for looking at it in a symbolic way so as to ensure the legacy of Rafa continues, and the whole Brooklyn community was proud and happy to see Janet and the family coming down. And so we here at the we from the CCM, or the Concerned Citizens Movement, always would recognize those who would have contributed, and we want to say that we're immensely proud of your contribution. I want to say, Premier Brantley, that this Charleston Accord was one of the topic being discussed, or one of the issues being discussed during the elections. Persons would say we should have legislated it. We should have done all kind of things, sit in parliament or bring it to cabinet and the likes. And you're also right that once this agreement was signed on to, it was all bond, because the Charleston Accord is akin to a manifesto. It is what guided the Team Unity the Team Unity government to some extent, in terms of it being put together, starting with the Prime Minister and everything else that was enshrined in it. The same way with a manifesto, you have policies, programs, plans that you intend to implement and accomplish while in government. I don't understand the argument that is being made about it should have been legislated. There's nothing in that to suggest to me that it should be legislated, other than persons with good intentions should have executed what was enshrined in that document. And it was a binding document, of course, because we signed on to it and we said this is what we'll do as a government, or as parties in government. And the argument was there. Well, everybody had their own opinion, but if the Prime Minister, or the former Prime Minister, was willing to work and abide by what was in that document, I think tonight we wouldn't have been talking about an election passed. We would have been talking about what we are accomplishing in government and moving towards 2025, which was when the next election was due. However, as things would go sometimes, that fell apart, and we're here where we are this evening. Strong and united, like I said before, because we are the only party of that particular union that is standing strong this evening. And no one who claimed they helped anyone to win in St. Kitts can say that to us here in Nevis. We have always campaigned as a party here in Nevis, and we have always said CCM is their own party that does what they have to do to win, and we have done that in terms of reaching the people, bringing our issues to the people. And we brought some issues, whether it was a brand new sixth form college, whether it was establishment of a broiler industry, whether it was controlling our own programs here in St. Kitts, these social programs here in Nevis, that we feel we are competent to handle here. Once the resources are given to us, we will know how to reach the most vulnerable among us, because we live here, we operate here, this is our space, and I don't think anyone outside of Nevis can tell us here on Nevis how to manage these social programs, because we have had programs before that are existing, that are working well. For example, when we got into government in 2013, we said we will implement a program whereby if you're 65 and older, we will give you subsidized electricity and subsidized water. We have done so up to this point in time, and I haven't heard any complaints out there. There may be, you'll tell me, Eric, but I haven't heard any, because it is a program that is transparent. It is a program that is reaching those who should be on the program, because there are stipulations as to who would qualify for those programs. And of course there are other programs, but I know for sure under the CCM in government we have demonstrated that we have the capacity to manage and the capacity to execute, and no one can deny the fact that the CCM through difficult times have proven that it is a party in government that absolutely cares about the people of Nevis, and we don't come with any fluff. Many will come with empty promises and things that are almost nigh impossible. But I can say to you that the CCM have been forthright, straightforward, and we have delivered. And I will say to the people of Nevis that we'll continue to deliver, irrespective of the challenges and the difficulties that are out there. I want to ensure that after this evening we go back to work. We're done with this election. One is due at some point over the next couple of months. March of next year, I believe, is when we should have one. By March of next year, I should say. But the people of Nevis will be called on to decide once again. And in the interim, we'll go back to our people, we'll go back to work, and we'll make sure that we continue the work that we've been doing. There are some numbers that suggest that there is some good things happening here on the island of Nevis. And numbers don't lie, because we don't make up numbers, we don't fudge numbers, we don't present fake numbers. These are data that is collected, or that are collected from, let's say, the Social Security Board, from the Planning Department when it comes to construction, or from other arms of government that produces these data, and the data speaks for themselves. So it means then we are in an upward trajectory in terms of coming out of what was considered a very difficult period of time, that is the COVID-19 pandemic, where we know challenges were there, but of course we are seeing some bright light ahead, and we'll continue to forge ahead as a party in government to ensure that the best come to the island of Nevis.
You know, just before you cut back in, Mark, I just wanted to just make a point quickly on something that you would have alluded to earlier on, and it is something that there is need for concern for, because I mean, when we were growing up on this beautiful island of Nevis, this gem, this paradise, we are seeing something happening now, as I said, which you spoke about, which never existed before. Normally, in the past, when an election was over, everybody quiets down and we get back to work, as Alexis said. But of late we have seen, and as you rightly said, once the election is over, the opposition unleashes all this vitriol, this bitterness, this anger, this cussing, and it is something that is foreign to the island of Nevis, and it should not continue. It is cause for concern, because Nevis is a small island where almost everybody is related. You know, this morning, I think it's about after 9, when I was sitting in my office, a young lady called me, and she said, Eric, I mean, I can't believe all the she said she was at a particular establishment on the weekend, and she said, I can't believe all the nastiness and the dirt things they're saying about the three of you and about the CCM. And they were just continuing and continuing. A young lady called me from the US this evening, and she said, please, Eric, please ignore the noise, because they're down there and waging war against you all. And it is not necessary. This is, I mean, we had two political parties. Of course, there was a third party, but we ran the elections. The election is over. We won the election fair and square. The people of Nevis have spoken, and we need to respect the voice of the people. And I don't know where all this bitterness and anger and vitriol is coming from. It's not healthy for us as a small nation. It is not.
Eric, I agree with you, and I think that is one of the problems that we have, because it means that we are extending the divisiveness that elections can bring. But what I will tell you is, I feel, I don't pay too much attention to it. I coined the term ignore the noise, and people think that sometimes it's offensive. But for me, it's a coping mechanism, because if I were to kick at every barking dog, as I say, you can't get up the hill. Precisely. So you must find a way to just ignore, because unfortunately, let us speak plainly. There are some people who have surrounded themselves, or the NRP has surrounded itself with, who are nothing outside government, meaning that they don't have a profession, they don't have a business, they don't have a way to survive. So the way they see it is that, listen, government, remember I used to talk about the trough, the treasury being a public trough. If they don't have their snout in that trough, so You may look at it and say, listen, this is about democracy. The people have exercised the franchise. But for them, they're bitter because they don't have their plans of what job they're going to get, what position they're going to hold, whatever. And I keep saying to our people, listen, at the end of the day, politics is a competition. It's a contest of ideas. It's a contest of personality. It's a contest of likability. All of those are factors.
Yes.
And if at the end of the day, Nevis people don't like you, they don't like you. And if they don't want you, they don't want you. Maybe politics is not the thing for you. It's as simple as that. And I find that there's no need to get upset at people and to go off with this level of vitriol and this level of attacks when you had the equal opportunity.
Precisely.
If all of us line up in a 100-meter race and somebody come first, you can't then say, oh, well, that person cheat and that person this and that person the other, with no justification for any of that, simply because you lost. And that has been the problem. There has never, in my view, been a sense of introspection with the NRP's concern. Whenever they lose, they lash out. Cost the electorate, cost each other, cost CCM. Right? Talk about how much money people get and all this foolishness. That is all that they do. But the question as to why they keep losing, they don't appear to be looking at that. I saw something, and I smiled to myself, because I saw something the other night. I went to pick up my daughter at the pier, and I saw a sea of red coming off. People dressed down in. I said, what is this? And I thought that the Labour Party had sent over some people, only to realize it was NRP people, dressed tugged down from head to toe, went down for whatever motorcade Labour had. And I smiled, because I said, these are the same people 2 days prior that were spending PLP money.
Oh, wait, orange too.
And spending PLP money. You know? So it tells you, and one of the things, gentlemen, and I don't think that we and the people of Nevis should take this lightly, you know. One of the things that I have been so proud of this CCM party is that we not beg nobody. And it therefore means that we can stand firm on principle for the benefit of our people. Right? Here's NRP getting PLP money, campaigning.
And they admitted to it,
Of course.
Okay.
Belatedly.
Okay.
Right? Getting PLP money, campaigning. Clearly, getting PLP to use programs, some of these social programs like Peace and PAP and thing, to benefit them. And the minute that Timothy Harris lose and is no longer in a position to assist them, they put on Labour shots.
Wow.
And I'm saying, at what point does the NRP stand up as a Nevis party? Because let us reflect, you know, that since 2010, when Patrice Nisbet joined with Labour, the NRP became a satellite. Dr. Douglas at the time was coming over here, became a satellite. And I have said to this team, and you guys remember, that we do not need any politician from St. Kitts on a CCM platform. Not any discourtesy to them, but we want to demonstrate to the people of Nevis, listen, we are a Nevisian party, and we are proud of our Nevisianness. We are proud of the fact that we represent the people of Nevis, right? And so we don't need to be a satellite of anybody.
Sure.
And even though we were part of Team Unity, we maintained our identity. The NRP to me seems to be just flowing from one paymaster to the next, and now whoever is in the seat of power that they feel can do something for them, that is where. What I say, you put them out to the super drip, them try to put them out to the super drip.
But seriously, Premier Brantley,
Yes.
what can NRP offer the Labour Party anyway?
Well,
They don't have a seat. They don't have anything to offer as far as I'm concerned. And what does the Labour Party look for from the NRP? I don't see anything in terms of a seat. Now, the thing is with the NRP is that they have sought to change and rebrand their party over the years. They said they are the new NRP, the new NRP, the revamped NRP, all sorts of names they have given themselves, right? And it boils down to the same old NRP with the same old principles, the same old stance, the same old rhetoric, the same old everything. Listen, when you have a party, you have what I call surrogates. Those are the people who go out there and speak for the party, and when they open their mouth to speak, they represent the party. So in terms of them, meaning those guys, those guys who find themselves on the NRP radio station or whatever, they speak the same old thing of the past, meaning 2006, 2010, 2015, the same old rhetoric, and all they're about is cussing Mark, cussing Alexis, cussing Eric. Mind, you don't hear us get into those personal attacks. We say certain things, yes, but it is in the cut of the campaign and people take them and run with them. But I don't care two hoots about who is on the other side in terms of their personal affairs. I don't care about none of them in terms of what they do in their personal life. When it comes to the politics, though, that is where the debate must be, and that is where we have kept the debate, and that is along the lines of the politics. But in terms of the NRP must realize that the people of Nevis are very, well, the electorate and the people of Nevis are very smart. And we may always think of people less than here on the island of Nevis, but the common man there on the street, when you engage them and you listen to them, you understand and you get the realization that they are very much in tune with what is going on in Nevis, and they will debate with you one-on-one and put the issues to you. Sometimes you're surprised with what they come with because you didn't realize that they are so deeply connected to the politics. But people understand, and that is why election after election after election the NRP continue to fail, because they bring back the same old voices saying the same old things. And when it's all said and done, what does that amount to? It doesn't put food on people's plate. When you're going to go after Eric's personal life, or my personal life, or Mark Brantley's personal life. I mean, they talk about your socks and shoes. What does that have to do with the price of cheese?
And not only that, but I put up the socks and shoes so they could talk about it.
And they're so foolish that they gravitate to it as if that is an issue. And that's why you say ignore the noise. Well, ignore Mark Brantley. And I ignore Alexis Jeffers as to what he does in his personal life, even though it is important for us to operate in personal life as we do in public life, and we have done an excellent job of doing that, really. But some of the things that they make an issue out of, it really defies common sense when it's all said and done. But I have sought to ignore the noise over the years, because in terms of election for myself, I started in 2010, took a beating in the federal election then, lost by 268, came back in the local election of 2011, won by 39, came back in the local election of 2013, won by 220, came back in the federal in 2015, that is, and won by 232 votes. I'm just speaking up in St. James now. And I came back in the local election of 2017 and won up in St. James by 306. And then you move on and you're winning every election. And I have done so because I've stayed in touch with my people. I've stayed in touch with their needs in terms of where the needs are, try to satisfy those needs. And I've looked after the constituency of St. James. I've looked after the constituency of St. Thomas, because we have brought housing, we have brought roads, we have brought social programs to St. Thomas Parish as well as St. James and throughout the whole of Nevis. But I'm speaking for that area that I represent both federally and locally. So in terms of ignoring the noise, we continue to do what we are asked to do in terms of doing more and saying less, and that's where the ignoring of the noise comes into play. And I am so pleased with us as a team, and irrespective of what might be happening in our party, because you know, in every party you have a little bit of discord, yes, but we have kept that to a minimum, and we have also sought to put that aside in the best interest of the island and the people of Nevis. So most of these things that you'll hear, we just ignore that and move on and make sure we are satisfying the people's need, and the people's attention is looked after with this party. And that is why, Premier Brantley, I always commend your leadership, because many times an institution, agency, or even the island of Nevis is guided by steady hands of leadership. Leadership is something that many were called to lead. Some were born leaders, as they say, and some persons grow into leadership. And I believe you have grown into the leadership of this island of Nevis, and I want to commend you for your efforts. And irrespective of what the other side say, there's no comparison, and I say that loudly. And you hear my voice become animated. I say that loudly because persons will tend to compare you with all of the leaders of the past, and all of the leaders of the past would have had to deal with different circumstances at different time, and of course it brings out a different type of approach from all of you as leaders of this island of the past. But I say, at this point in time, when things are so challenging, one has to give you commendation for what you've done. And beyond the shores of Nevis, no other leader has stood up in Bastille and have represented the island of Nevis as you have done in the past. And I will get flack for that, but I'll take it, because I mean that, because I am there beside you. I stand beside you, along with you, along with Eric, Evelyn as well. And I know what your contribution has been at the federal level, not only at the foreign affairs level, but also in cabinet there. You have always been called upon. Mark, what is your feelings or opinion or whatever the case might be? And of course, your opinions sometimes, in most cases, shape the discussions at the cabinet level over there, and also bring about decision-making process. And I want to commend you for that, because these are things that don't get to the public domain. But I can say that I sit there and I listen to you, and I hear the ideas that you bring to the table, and I must commend you, because no matter what persons may say, we can always, and it's up to us to bring that to the fore, and it is a testimony when it's all said and done of your the quality of your leadership, and I must commend you. So I will stand resolute any day and stand on your side and say what I know about you as a leader of this island and beyond.
I endorse that 150%.
Well, thank you both, and I of course have absolute confidence in you as well, because I've seen both of you at work, and I marvel at what you've been able to do in less than 2 years. At least I had 7 years in the cabinet, and of course I've been knocking about the federal parliament since 2007. So I'm long in the tooth now. You know, my beard has grown grey. But I think you gentlemen, in a very short space of time, have demonstrated as well your capacity for hard work and representation. But just going to the point, you talk about ignore the noise. You remember the NRP had 4 years or so. What was their number one issue? That we should not run in 2 elections. The number one issue, every talk show, every opportunity, we should not run. I remember my good cousin here on Von Radio, that was her beating drum. It can't be right. You can't do 2 jobs. Same NRP now has the same candidates running in 2 elections. It tells me that when you're standing on principle, you stand.
Amen.
Regardless of what people may say, because look at them now, they've come right back to the position that they condemned. I am hopeful, gentlemen, because somebody just sent me a note, checking my phone here, and asked me to mention that this victory of the CCM is historic, because it is the second time that the CCM has won all the federal seats and Nevis. And the writer said to me that since independence, it has only happened once. The NRP won all the seats in 1984.
84 to 80, 89.
Right? Yeah. It has not happened since. And I didn't myself take note of that, but I'm happy that it has been pointed out, because it says and speaks volumes in terms of how the people of Nevis see us, the 3 of us, because we were the 3 that they elected in 2020, we're the 3 that are here again. It also, I think, sends a clear message. The people of St. Kitts said on the 5th of August, we want Labour. The people of Nevis said on the 5th of August, we want CCM. And the question now is, what will the Labour Prime Minister do? Will he ignore what the people of Nevis have said and resort to the same old, or will he be the catalyst now for change and to say, listen, the people of Nevis have spoken eloquently and they have kept Nevis blue. There's a wall of blue here. When you land on the pier, you see blue. Blue skies, blue ocean, blue. Right? And the question is, how will he, and I believe that it goes to the very philosophy of how you see the people of Nevis.
That's right.
I have been following social media, and I see some people who say they're Labour supporters. I confess I don't know some of them. Oh, no, study Nevis, they don't go about their business. We got a mandate, And I think that a lot of us have fallen into the trap of thinking that in St. Kitts you have won 6 out of 8 seats, as if 8 seats constitute the federal parliament. In fact, Labour has won 6 out of 11 seats. And that is important, because it means Labour really only has a 1-seat majority. Right? And I think that people need to start to open their eyes. I see some comments, for example, saying, oh, CCM won 3 seats and going into opposition. They win all the seats in Nevis and going into opposition. And the constitution needs to be fixed. And I keep saying to people, listen, I don't know necessarily. Well, I agree the Constitution has a lot of things about it that we should now look at. It is nearly 40 years old. It is time for it to be revisited. But what I believe the problem is politically in our country is that we are one of the few countries anywhere in the world that has no national political party. The Labour Party call themselves the Sinkis Nevis Labour Party, but they might as well take Nevis out the name because they don't run any candidates in Nevis. People's Action Movement, same thing. PLP came along, same thing. CCM doesn't run any candidates in Sinkis, NRP doesn't. So, because of that, when we go into an election, you have seats in Nevis being fought over by division parties, seats in Sinkis being fought over by coalition parties. That is why the prospect of coalition is always there. Now, if Labour had run 11 constituencies, Labour would have won 6. And I don't believe there have been any question about, oh, Nevis vote and Nevis is not in the government, because we would understand that who wins the majority forms the government. Similarly, if CCM was running all 11 and CCM won 3, there'll be no debate because CCM has not won enough seats to form the government. So I believe that that is an issue that many are talking about. I also want to say that our history is important. And some of the people who are commenting, I said, either they've forgotten or they're not paying attention. Because let us reflect that CCM as a party has been winning federal elections in 1993. Since 93, CCM has had a majority of federal seats in this island of Nevis. And in 2020, forgive me, we won all 3. So from 93 until 2020, my tally, that's 27 years. CCM had the majority, 2 seats. And then in 2020, we got all 3. And now we have all 3 again in 2022. During that period, gentlemen, the only time, 29 years, that CCM was in office, in cabinet, was 2015 to 2022. 7 years. So it means that the majority of Nevis seats, CCM sat in opposition federally from 1993 until 2015.
Right.
Right? And so that isn't new. As a matter of fact, all the seats in Nevis sat in opposition from 1995 until 2010. Right? So this sense of doom and gloom, and people are saying, oh, you're in opposition and what that means and whatever. I mean, we've been here before. There is no need, I think, for our people to get panicked and start to despair. The reality is, why have the people of Nevis voted for CCM? And it comes down to a simple point that I make over and over. It comes down to representation. The people are satisfied that in the CCM, in the 3 of us, they have the best team that can represent them. Whether that is in parliament, in cabinet, out of cabinet,
in opposition,
in the kitchen, out in the bedroom, wherever it is, they know that we are the 3 who are best equipped to represent them. And that's what it's about. The people had a choice to make. They said, listen, is it Eric or the person running against Eric? Is it Mark or the person running against Mark? Is Alexis or the person running against Alexis? And they chose us.
Of course.
Right? So I'm saying to our people, some of whom themselves are saying, oh, we're going into opposition. I told a lady tonight, a good friend of mine, I said, listen, we were fired on the 10th of May, So from the 10th of May, we've been out of government.
That's right.
Right? So what we have done now is gone back to the people of Nevis. And the people of Nevis have said, you're who we want.
Of course.
And so we now have that overwhelming mandate to represent the people of Nevis. And that is what we will continue to do.
Yeah.
And so I believe that history is important, because during those years, we tried to develop some functional cooperation, and the country progressed and the country moved forward.
As you speak of history, Premier Brantley, I would want to think that the new Prime Minister, new government, let's put it that way, he's new and the government is new, would be cognizant of the history of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and indeed the concerned citizens movement, or Nevis on a whole, should and must have a role to play in any federal government, in any shape or form, whether it's through dialogue, through regular meetings, whether in cabinet or whatever the case might be. Nevis, because Nevis, the thinking and feeling of Nevis and Nevisians can only be conveyed properly or in an eloquent way by persons from Nevis. Now, I say that to say this. I am not here speaking about us being in cabinet with the Labour Party. If they extend that invitation, then of course the consideration will be made. But it is up to the new leader and the new government as to what their desires are moving forward. But Nevis and the people of Nevis and the island of Nevis must have a say in the future of Nevis and by extension the Federation. That being said, let me say, history of course is undoubtedly the yardstick you use to judge political parties or persons. And what I find is that the NRP historically have always found themselves on the wrong side of issues pertaining to Nevis and the future of Nevis. I have articulated it before, and I don't want to say we're talking secession, but they were on the wrong side. It is something they supported in Parliament and came out on the road and campaigned vociferously against it. Whether history will judge Joseph Parry correctly in 1993, when he would have formed a minority government, so to speak, with the PAM party, the history behind that will speak for itself in time to come. Also, when it came to the fact that we reached out to the NRP during the difficult times of COVID-19, they faltered and said they were not going to be a part of any decision-making process or anything to get the message out and to bring about some stability during those difficult times. We had to do it on our own. As a matter of fact, when they went and unceremoniously removed persons' name from the voters list, like they never existed, they found themselves on the wrong side of the wrong side of history, and they're still suffering as a result of that, and they will continue to suffer as a result of that. And they never apologize. As a matter of fact, we have said to them, until you come to the people of Nevis, even to the new leader that is there, you must come to the people of Nevis and apologize for the wrongs of the NRP of the past, and perhaps persons will embrace you and embrace the party. But in their defiance, the people of Nevis continue to vote against them, because the people of Nevis won't forget. They will not forget, and going into the future, the people of Nevis will always be reminded of this, because Premier Brantley, if you were removed from the list in 2011, well, I use your name, but let me say Eric was removed and you went to fight for Eric. Eric will always remember the fight that you would have brought. And it was a successful fight whereby Eric is now enfranchised once again to vote in an election. And if it is that the CCM, through the Honorable Mark Brantley, did not do that, hundreds of persons would have been out there not having a chance to determine the future of the island of Nevis.
203
jobs
alone.
And these are important things to note. And that is why when you hear about the revamp NRP, you revamp, yes, but you come back with the same old rhetoric, the same old principle stance that is counterproductive and unhealthy for the island of Nevis. And that is why I am so proud to be a member of this great party, the Blue Party. And we are in Blue Vex. We're blue because when the sky is clear, it's pure blue sky. You see, it means the sun is out and people are having a wonderful time enjoying the weather.
Blue but true.
Anyway, Eric, you go ahead.
Yeah, well, of course, I just wanted to endorse all of what you guys are saying. I think people recognize how committed we are, and of course, Mark, you would have mentioned this. I would have mentioned it several times on the campaign trail, that nobody can point a finger at any one of us, not at any time. I know they have tried in the past to dig things up, but they can't find anything. And I continue to say how proud I am of this party, because we have an unblemished record. We have a record and a reputation that is enviable, and I just want to encourage us as members of this Concerned Citizens Movement Party. Let us continue along that vein.
Let's open the lines and see if anybody wants to talk to us. We've been talking to each other. I have with me this evening the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, the champion of St. Thomas's and St. James, the Honorable Eric Evelyn, the champion of Gingerland, and I am here as well, yours truly, Mark Brantley, the host of the show. The numbers to call are 869-469-1616 and 1700. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Miss Sheriff, good night.
Good evening to you, my dear.
How are you all doing?
We are doing fine and giving thanks.
Okay, good night to the Honorable Eric.
Good night.
Honorable Jeffers.
Good night.
Psalm 116 verse 1 and 2. I love the Lord because he had heard my voice and my supplication. because he had inclined his ears to me, therefore will I upon him as long as I live. Sympathy is going out to all who lose their loved one. I told you, my sheriff, all the way CCM will win all three. Thank God. All the best to my family over there in Canada. And you all good night. God gonna see us through. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, and thank you for the scripture as always.
Good night.
All right, we're taking your calls. 869. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good night, guys. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Calling from South Pola.
Mm-hmm.
I have to congratulate three of you all, you know. And Brother Mac, let me tell you this here. I will always back you because you know why? You're the only leader ever stand up strong for Navy against St. Kitts politicians for the times that they treat Navy so bad. And a lot of we Navy can't sleep. And because you're so strong in standing up for Navy, a lot of them against you for that. And I'm glad it have a person who can stand up for Navy John.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Navy want. And they also saying that you all lose now what you are going to do in St. Kitts now. So we say congrats. All you have to do is just stand up for Nevis at all times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'll be listening, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I don't understand the notion that we lose because the last I checked, we won all the 3 seats on Nevis. So I'm not sure where that is coming from. Gentlemen, while we wait for the phones to ring, I visited the hospital today.
I did as well.
And I was very, very proud to see that the enclosure for our CT scan, brand new Philips CT scan, is being put in place. The technicians are there.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get a chance, I'm sure, to talk about that. But that to me is a significant step forward. Quantum leap forward to healthcare for Nevis. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Yeah, good night.
Good night to you.
Yeah, the sheriff and Eric Evelyn and Jeffers.
Good night.
Yeah, you guys are real powerhouse. And the sheriff, I want to say to you that modern day Moses, and we have gone off the scene, and you are modern day Joshua, which will take the people of Nevis into the promised land. So I want you guys to continue to fight the fight, stand up for Nevis, and do what is right, and the people of Nevis will continue to support you and vote for you, and keep this thing forward. Whenever the local election is called, you guys are going to come out on top. And I won't be surprised if you guys win the 5 seats. The next election coming. So be strong, continue to fight, and we will succeed. I hope though that the new Prime Minister in St. Kitts, as he said, that he want to lay this thing to rest with the bickering between St. Kitts and Nevis, that he will do a good job. I think he has a good heart, and I believe that he will stand up and do a good job. Hope that he will not be influenced by the former Prime Minister who wants Nevis checked. And when the history of the Federation is written, you will say that Dr. Joe was a good Prime Minister. Continue the good work, and God bless you all.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. And I think this call has hit the nail on the head. When the history books are written, what you will say of Dr. Drew. And Dr. Drew is in the best position because he's just starting out. And he will shape his legacy, and we will just have to wait and see. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Okay, we've lost that caller. Yes, let's try this caller then. Good evening, caller, you're on the mark. Okay, we've lost that caller as well. Callers, could you be patient with us and keep trying? Let's try again. Good evening, you're on the mark.
And keep trying. Let's try again.
Hello.
On the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening. Could you move away from the computer? Could you move away from the computer? We're getting all the feedback.
Could you move away from the computer?
Congratulations to the CCM team.
to God be the glory, great things he has done. And to those people he think it's to use to meet me and say, Mark gonna lose the seat. CCM is gonna lose the seat. Let it take that in the magazine.
That's a calypso.
Melissa, I've never heard this song.
I think you're scared the technician. Man God, man, you're in your Macazima. But thank you. You know, the problem is these fake polls and fake posters. That was really the problem, you know, because some people, even people in, I said to them, sometimes I thought you understand politics, because when they call me and say, boy, Zook gonna lose and you in trouble, I say, I'm in trouble, Zook in trouble. I said, no, we on the ground.
You're lucky you heard those.
As a matter of fact, the night after Alexis won, somebody called me and said, Lord, Eric, I'm frightened because somebody called me from Canada, said they hear Mark lose.
Well, I tell somebody, you know, when the predictions are that I'm going to lose, I just say, well, as usual, because it's every election I'm supposed to lose. And every election, I mean, as I said, 411 vote victory is a blowout, right? It's a blowout in the context of our electorate. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Hi.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening to you.
Yes, how are you?
We're doing well. Could you move away from your radio or computer? We're hearing that in the background.
Okay. Yes, I'm aware.
Yes. Go ahead, you're on the air.
How you all doing?
We're doing good, thanks.
And you all happy?
Very.
I think you all thought you have been in government today.
Well,
You're still happy?
You're going to elections hoping to be in government, but that is up to the electorate.
Mr. Marco, the last time I was calling and you all showed about 3-4 months of trying to hold on this. I mean, everything done and mash up and everything, but everything done and said no, but you see, life is funny. I know you all expect you all have been in government, and I want you to share a little sympathy with Pam. You all mentioning Pam names, Charles.
Caller, you there?
I'm there.
Any party that contests an election, don't they contest the election to go into government?
Yes, Mr. Mark, but
okay.
I just had to call you back because I called you 4 months ago.
To say what?
When I told you, please, to hold it down.
What do you mean hold it down? I'm not understanding you.
Well,
the CCM did what the CCM Caller, you realize that the CCM won all the seats on Nevis?
Yes, CCM win, but what about you other fellows then in St. now? You got them suffering.
Caller, I'm not understanding. What do you mean I have them suffering? The People's Action Movement is a proud, strong movement.
57
years old.
Supposed to be together.
But we indicated that we are intending to join if the seats are won. What is wrong with that?
I share a little sympathy. You ain't even mentioning about them candidates who lose, and you say the them guys who lose. Like, you don't forget about them now.
Caller, I'm really not sure what you're saying, because we have made it quite clear.
I called you before and tell you, you all should try hold it down.
Alright.
Suppose Labour win, and this money, you all sound so sensitive now, no? Suppose Labour ain't decide to work with you all.
But caller, if Labour decides not to work with us, then that is Labour's decision. We will still represent the people of Nevis.
It's not fair. It should, but I warn you. And I know you all had too much steam, man. You all think you come and system think you were the farm government, but thing is funny. And Mr. Harris didn't lose by a toast. The people didn't went out to vote. That's what happened. How we should always win the seat. You will always win the seat. Mark Brantley, Timothy will always win the seat too. But unfortunately, he's not the Prime Minister, but I warn you all, I warn you. I don't know if you remember this old voice. I'll call you.
Alright.
But anyway, I'm going to give you a break now. But if Dr. Ju decide to do the same bullshit, what going to happen?
Alright.
Better to hand on the board in the bush, as you say.
Yeah. Alright, caller. Well, I hear that argument being advanced, but let me tell you, I'm not staying in no situation where the people of Nevis are being disrespected and ill-treated, because as somebody said, you get in some pittance. That was the attitude that broke up this arrangement. Lack of respect, lack of trust, a situation where you're being given crumbs and be told you should be satisfied.
And
right?
Labour is not unity now, so they will not study.
Well, if Labour chooses to go down that road, caller.
Prime Minister couldn't even put down his foot, because if he tell you something, you fellow them over there. They look like they respect you, yes, but if the Prime Minister has to say something, you could have just pull away and mash up the party, but this is a straight party now, so it's going to be difficult to deal with them.
Well, all right, caller. I mean, I hear you. I don't agree with you, but I hear you. And you have...
Okay, thanks for listening.
Yes.
I warn you, man. I warn you.
Yeah, all right, caller. I'm not so sure the caller is warning us about, because he's calling to a show where the three who are here, were the three who were here, and the three who, God willing, will be here. So I'm not sure.
It seems like people are forgetting something. In a parliament with 6 government members on the government side, there's certain legislation or certain bills that will definitely require the CCM and its 3 seats to be a part of that vote. I mean, I'm sure there will be legislation that is advanced that we will have to play a major role in. So it therefore means that if a party, a brand new party in government, brand new leader in government, sees no value in the CCM and sees no value in the opposition, well, you have a problem going down the road. And I don't think that is the pathway that a new leader would want to take. I see this as a point in time where we have seen over the last 39, 40 years, where there have been, so much disagreement and so many difficulties that this federation have faced. I believe this is a time when we can say, let us, these crossroads that we're on, or we're just about to cross, let us go in the right direction and let us see if we can change the circumstances of the federation. I do not believe that a new administration in St. Kitts, be it Labour at this point in time or any other administration, would want to represent the federation as they should and see Nevis as being less than at this point in time. Nevis is far too important to this federation for anyone to deny or importance, and perhaps that is where the former Prime Minister lost his way, because what better situation to have been in when we had team unity, a representation of 3 different parties, pretty much the entire Federation of St. Kitts was represented there, even though you didn't have a Labour party a part of that construct. Be that as it may, all citizens were represented in that particular construct.
Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Okay, we can't hear that caller. Caller, are you there? Caller, we're not hearing you. Could you please call back in?
Try again.
469-1616, 469-1700. I'm not understanding, gentlemen. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good night, Honorable Premier. How your night going?
Yes, the night is going well. Go ahead, please.
Give thanks for life. How was the day?
We had a good day. Can you go ahead with your point? We don't have a lot of time, so go ahead.
Well, let me just say congratulations on your victory at the federal poll.
Thank you.
And I hope that you all endorse within the strength of the people of Nevis to make sure that the people of Nevis and St. Kitts work hand in hand, as you state in your victory rally. Now, this is what I am speaking to the eye. I call over there already at your office, but anyway, we're going to continue this level on a different note. I would like to say, in the counties that you all have just received the victory, the federal election, what are your movements in comforting in the context of making sure that Nevis and St. Kitts work betterment than how we were the last time under the former administration? And I hope that you all make sure that the education flow properly to the people of Nevis when it comes to the history in Nevis. May you not go safe. Guidance.
All right. Thank you very much. It's 20 minutes to the hour of 10 o'clock. We're taking your calls. 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. The Honorable Eric Evelyn and the Honorable Alexis Jefferson are here with me, and we are saying thank you. Thank you to the people of Nevis. Thank you to the people of number 9, 10, and 11 for once again returning all 3 of us to Parliament. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Can you hear?
Hello?
Hello, good night.
Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Premier, I wish you and your cabinet a good thing for winning the 3 feet in Nevis. This is Clarence.
Claristine.
Yes,
Yes, Claristine.
Yeah.
So who's dialing? Somebody's dialing your phone? Hello?
Hello, yeah?
Yes, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
I wish you congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. We appreciate you and we appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right.
All the best.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah, okay.
All right. All right. So, I think quite a few people were on that call just now. Ladies and gentlemen, this is On the Mark. This is your host, Mark Brantley, and we have the Honorable Eric Evelyn and the Honorable Alexis Jeffers here, and we are saying thank you. Today, gentlemen, I also had a meeting with the task force, so to speak, that we put in place to implement the gratuities and pension for our non-established workers. A commitment that we made to come into effect on September 1st. I was quite happy that they report to me that we are on track and that by September 1st we can roll out that policy. I think many of our non-established workers, I was very pleased to hear, for example, that they've had a series of town hall meetings with the non-established workers and have met with those in public works, those generally, and those at the hospital. So we look forward certainly to see what that's going to look like. The cabinet, of course, would have to approve it, but that is a commitment again that we have made and a commitment that we are keeping. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good night, Matt.
Yeah.
Congratulations,
Thank you so much. Thank you.
my leader. This coming from the Virgin Islands. You guys look good, man.
Thank you.
I'm here listening.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and trust and hope that all is well in the VI.
For sure.
All right, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So we are taking calls. Let's go back to the phones. Do we have somebody holding? Good evening. You're on the mark.
Hello, Mr. Brantley. Good night.
Good night to you.
And good night to Mr. Evelyn.
Good night.
And good night to Mr. Jeffers.
Good night to you as well.
I am congratulating you all on your win.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And don't mind what they're saying. Understand? Don't mind what they're saying. God is in control, and I know that He's going to lead you all down the right path. Okay?
Yes.
God bless you,
Thank you very much.
guide you, and protect you.
Thank
Have
you.
a safe night.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Evelyn,
Thank
my
you.
representative.
Yes, my dear. Good night to you, and thank you for your support.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, good night.
All right.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And while we are getting calls from the USVI and elsewhere, I want to thank all those Nivisians who came home to exercise their franchise. Many of them came for Culturam and stayed in order to vote. And I just want to also dispel this myth that the NRP has put out there that they didn't bring home anybody to vote. That is nonsense. Both parties mobilized their support.
Numbers speak for
And
themselves.
people were there. People were here for both sides. And at the end of the day, the CCM prevailed. I want to thank those. I know many of them came at short notice. It was difficult for them. They had to have difficult routes to get here. But praise be to God, they came, they exercised their franchise, and I'm told that they're back safely. And so I'm grateful
Thanks
for
to
that.
the CCM, they have been able to do. They're still able to do it.
Well, that too, because recall there was an effort to
Even if they're
disenfranchise
NRP.
all
Even
of
if they're
them.
NRP.
Even if they're NRP, they're able to come. Let's go back to the phones. It's 1:45. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Mark Brantley,
Yes, good evening.
I'm happy to live to see the day that you, Mark Brantley, do not have to make a decision for me in St. Kitts. I make decisions for myself. And the lady tell you, well, God is in control. All the wickedness of the people on the tin, want all the mark. See now what you be? 3 stooges, Ben and Jerry. You keep your puppy so short.
Ben and Jerry is actually 2. Maybe you missed that part of it. But Ben and Jerry is 2. So if you're going to say 3 Stooges, you need another name, okay? And it's ironic that people say they don't want Mark Brantley making a decision for them. Well, the people of Nevis voted overwhelmingly for CCM. Dr. Drew will be making decisions for the people of Nevis. That is the nature of the thing. So I don't understand sometimes, caller, what exactly you all are. Labour has won. If you're a Labour supporter, just congratulate Labour and say let's move on. And let's try and heal the country, because we have shown.
It goes back to what I was saying,
You know?
Mark. Goes back to what I was saying. When the election is over, there's no need for all this anger and bitterness.
Well, but even when they have won, they still are angry and bitter. And I'm saying it doesn't make any sense.
No.
Because the history has shown, that leaders in St. who go to war with the people of Nevis end up losing. I will just rest that there, because that is the history. So, again, Dr. Drew has a golden opportunity.
Sure.
And I'm prepared to give Dr. Drew the benefit of that doubt. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you guys?
We're doing fine.
It's a pleasure to hear all three of you on the radio at the same time. I want to say congratulations to all three of you.
Thank you.
And I am proud and happy to be a supporter, have always been a supporter of CCM, have no intentions of changing sides to anything else. So I'm really, really happy and pleased. And I wish you guys the best. And I pray that Dr. Drew has the insight and the wisdom to work with all three of you to make things better for the Federation, not just St. Kitts, because St. Kitts and Nevis is the Federation. And I pray that he will be wise enough to do that. And I wish you guys much success.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you. So we're taking calls on 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Hello.
You're on the mark. Go ahead.
Hello.
You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Is this on the mark?
Yes, caller, you are on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, please. I seldom call, but I would like to call in and say to the Honorable Premier Brantley, Evelyn and Shepard,
Yes.
congratulations once again for winning in such a commanding fashion at the polls. Politics become you. We are where we are because whatever is said, the electorate has spoken. Congratulations to the revamped Dr. Drew-led Labour Party, which almost effortlessly swept aside like a tsunami anything that resembled the opposition. You've got your house up there in order, Mark, Premier Brantley. But what about that of your partner across the narrow? One would hope that you would have learned that it is dangerous to jump in bed and align yourself with a cause. Why couldn't you, with all of your political savvy and perspicacity, have seen that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link? You brought home yours. However, in closing, whatever I've said before, it was a resounding victory for Labour. And I couldn't be happier. But I want to assure all the three of you over there that I have every confidence that Dr. Drew, the president of St. Kitts and Nevis, is just, and as such, he would not treat you as perhaps others would. Let us, every one of us, embrace our national future together, because we are one, you know. Without you, there is no me, and vice versa. I say emphatically. However, when people call in and they vent their emotions, It is only reflective of the hurt that was visited upon so many who placed their trust in the confidence we reposed in you. You failed. You tried to retrieve it. Unfortunately, you jumped in bed with a corpse. I'm wishing you all the best over there as you continue running Nevis, and I do hope that the healing so desperately sought and could not be had on the Team Unity, the situation was so irreconcilable, would be had on the Labour. Good evening, folks.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that. It is always interesting after the results are in to hear the people pontificate as to what people ought to have done. Mm-hmm. This is like when you stay in the pavilion and say the guy bowled the wrong ball, or why they give that man the last over to bowl, or he should have hit that one over the boundary. The truth is that we went into an election, and all the parties went into that election. The People's Action Movement expressed confidence, the Labour Party expressed confidence, the PLP expressed confidence. In fact, I heard Timothy Harris saying he will win all 8 seats.
Mm-hmm.
The NRP expressed confidence, except the NRP never said they would win all the seats. They said they will win number 11 and possibly number 9. They gave up on number 10. So the truth is, caller, that you go into elections with expectations, and it is ultimately for the people to determine. Everybody who lines up at the 100-meter line is lining up expecting to do their best and to win. So I don't know now, after the results are in, that you ought to come and say that somehow we should have known, because you can't know until you go to the polls and the people would have spoken. And I will tell you, caller, that not even the Labour Party expected the victory that they got. So while they were confident, they were not disconfident. So let us just accept the results. The people have spoken. Let us now move on and get on with the process of governance and building the country. I think all the hand-wringing and the pontificating at this stage really doesn't add anything. Let's go back to the phones. We have about 6 minutes left. Good evening. You're on the mark. Hello.
Hello. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening to you.
Wake up. I fell asleep. I just wake up. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Both of you. And may we try to work together, because it is, as the gentleman said, there is no me without you and there is no you without me. Because I don't know, it's up to my grandmother, came from mother's side, and my grandmother from father's side. We need to stay together. And I beg you all, Lord, try to work out something. No secession, no secession. Are we going to hurt everybody? We the older one, the younger one, going to say, oh, that ain't nothing. But we the older one who know what is what. We don't really feel bad about it. So, when you all go to the house, you hope you all have a meeting and you all get it work out. And nobody bother you tonight, Mr. Mark, who those who used to call in and say, oh, this staying right and that ain't right. I ain't see them in town. I was in the circus today. I said, I ain't see what his name, you know, me discuss the one used to call and disturbing you. And as the politics, so he gonna go rest. So he said the other day, me make him a big for him, because I tell him, I sing him a song about it. You don't want to come up in front of them. Don't come up in front of me, you know. So, me taking it on. All what we got to do, work together and we stay together. Also, we pray together, stay together. And we'll be one for happy family. And I hear my phone dance, you know. Chop dog on, man. Chop dog. Chop dog on. Every morning I get to grab me by my breast, you know. I sang well, taking, you know, but I remember, I said I had to go, he had to go. He had to go, man. When I saw them thing, I came from Lodgeway, and when I see what's going on, oh my God, what is this one, Mr. Max? you all is educated people. You all got to go in the house and make some serious demand, that these things are 70 now. May want to go 75 when it's still open. They say yes, they're going to do it, reform, electoral reform, and and the other thing, put them into place. In Puerto Rico right now, they're locking up a president for mismanagement. Yeah, and I said, you hear, and I said, they went go hunt up Mr. Trump place sometime, and yesterday, sometime, and you flushing down some papers. We need to get serious because sometimes suppose was too much a decade. Put in the thing. I thought really when I hear that I'm green and spark 2015, oh my God, everything would have fallen into place. Boundary that need to fix. Other things that need to fix it for me before that. Fix it for me. I don't want to hear no back and forth of me, when they did the election. Let them put it there because well, the 17 and the 18 may fall on a Sunday still today. Yeah, Mr. Mark? Yeah, and we don't get things right, man. We all got to work on these things. Okay, you have a good evening. And hip 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 hooray!
She has a full agenda.
Alright, just thank you for that. Do you have any more calls? Okay, gentlemen, we only have about 3 minutes left. We have had a few calls, but we did take up most of the time having a conversation. Alexis, I give you the first word as we try and wrap up.
Yes, well, in wrapping up, I just want to say thank you once again to the good people of Nevis 11, all of the voters who turned out to exercise their franchise, all of the workers, the poll workers, the poll watchers, those persons who drove. I didn't say that before, but Eric would have articulated for his constituency, so I'm doing so for mine now. Everyone who played a part, who are part of the machinery that we rolled out in Nevis 11 to bring about the success that we had, I want to thank them and thank them over and over again, because no one man is an island, so I couldn't do it by myself. I needed all hands on deck, and all hands were on deck, of course, yes. I also want to say thanks to the Almighty for granting me the strength, the wisdom, and everything that is needed, and all of the ingredients that are needed to ensure that I can provide the type of representation that I've done in the past and going into the future. So this is a victory for the entire Nevis 11, and I will also say that Nevis 11 this time around was under tremendous pressure, and we stood up to those pressures, because there were things that were seen, things that were unseen, and it's the unseen that we were unsure about, but at least we were able to withstand all that. I am so proud of the people of Nevis 11 for what they have done, and I want to give the assurance this evening that I am dedicated to representing you, and I'll do that for the next 5 years, and that is what you have given me that mandate to do, and I am certainly up to the task, and I'll deliver as much as my capabilities can allow. So once again, thanks for having me this evening, Premier Brantley. It was indeed my pleasure, and of course there's much more to be said, but we'll dialogue in the future.
Honorable Eric Evelyn.
Yes, sir, thank you very much. Of course, it has been my pleasure being here. Thank you for inviting me, and once again I want to say thank you to the people of St. George Gingerland for once again overwhelming me, giving me that mandate. And I just want to remind the whole of Nevis and St. Kitts and wider field that that seat, St. George Gingerland, is not up for grabs. It is not available. And I just want to say once again, thanks to everybody, and I dedicate this win to the late Trevi Liebert and the late Weston Myron Jeffers.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. We have brought the three candidates. I end as the host of the show and as a leader of this great CCM party by thanking all the people of Nevis, but more specifically the people of Number 9, the people of St. John's and St. Paul's who have been with me. I was able to win St. John's by 297. I won St. Paul's by 114. I think in our context that is overwhelming. In fact, in St. Paul's, I think it's a good thing to point out that we would have won St. Paul's in 2017 by 11 votes. We won it in 2020 by 75. We won it in 2022 by 114. It means that the people of St. Paul's are responding to the message of the Concerned Citizens Movement. And so I want to thank the people, thank the drivers, the volunteers, all the people who made it possible, and all the supporters, the prayer warriors, the people who really are there for us and there for Nevis. We are the party of choice on the island of Nevis, and we commit to continue to represent you to the best of our ability. We shall not forget that you have sent us and that we serve you. Thank you, good night, and God bless you. This show is rebroadcast tomorrow at 1 p.m. right here on VON Radio, the voice of Nevis, the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse. Good night, and God bless you.
Amen.
And opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the